Hi and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I'm going to concentrate on my go-to glowy base, and I'm going to show you all the tips and tricks that I have, all the product recommendations that I have, and how to achieve this simple, everyday, but glowy, long-lasting, by the way, makeup base look. I hope you enjoy and thank you so much for watching. I'll chat to you at the end. So we're going to start with the base. The base probably is the most important bit because that gives the luminosity that looks like it's coming from within. So always make sure you've got a glowy base if you're looking for a glowy overall look on your skin. So my favourite is, well, I have a couple of favourites, but my favourite probably is the Hollywood Flawless Filter from Charlotte Tilbury. I'm the shade 3. I also absolutely adore the Sculpted by Aimee Beauty Base. These are just beautiful. There's two types. I've got the gold one, which is gone. You can see I've cut the top off, and then I've got the pearl one. Both are beautiful. The gold version gives a much stronger kind of finish, much glowier finish, whereas the beauty pearl is a little bit more subtle but still beautiful. Also, you can get like radiance primers from Primark, Pennies, all those kind of things. But today I'm going to use the Flawless Filter, Hollywood Flawless Filter from Charlotte Tilbury, and I'm actually going to use this all over my face today. And I'm just going to buff it in to the skin. You can see what that does straight away. It's just so good. So that's giving me a gorgeous base. So whatever I put on top of this is going to still have a radiance once I don't kind of pack on a matte foundation. So the foundation is the next bit. And what I would say with the foundation is, if you get the other products right, you can still use your normal foundation. And that's what I'm going to do today. So I love the Ordinary Serum Foundation. I use this all the time. I also love the Mineral Blend from Vichy. Both beautiful products. I'm going to use the Ordinary one today because I actually like how kind of natural this looks on the skin. Also, it matches my colour at the moment. And I also love that it's quite lightweight, so anything you're going to put under it will still look well. But a big tip for a glowy base is using a sponge, a damp beauty sponge. This is going to keep the product moist. It's going to allow the product to work into the skin but still give that luminosity. I swear by beauty blenders or beauty sponges for when I'm really looking for that glowy complexion. It makes the world of difference. So if you haven't got a beauty sponge, you should definitely consider getting yourself one. They change the game completely. And what you can see is the luminosity is still coming through. It's still looking glowy. And because this foundation has a lightweight cover, or it has a lightweight texture, but it has a decent coverage, you actually don't need that much. So you can see what that's done to the skin. Now what I would do is I would always go back over in the areas that I know I need a little bit more coverage. So my cheeks go quite red. So I would always just kind of add a little bit more to that area. I leave all my shades and all that kind of stuff below if anybody is interested. I'm slightly different colour, so I'm just going to bring it slightly down onto my neck. So the beauty of using your own foundation is you know it works for you. You're not going to look like an oily mess by the end of the day, and it's going to stay in place. That's the key for me. Like, I totally love glowy skin, but I actually don't like oily, greasy looking skin. I just love a glow in a certain point of the face. So basically, the combination of these two are giving me that subtle glow from within all over the skin, and then I can add kind of luminosity or glow in other areas that I want. So next is concealer. Again, keep your concealer the same. You can use the Charlotte Tilbury under your eyes if you want to make your concealer more glowy. I am going to use the Maybelline Eye Eraser just to pop a little bit in where I feel I need it. I don't like this packaging because it gets so messy. But again, going in with my beauty sponge to blend this out. If you want to get a little bit more coverage from this concealer, leave it for a couple of seconds before you start to blend. And then that will really help. So I'm going to start to blend in, pressing it in with the sponge. Again, the wet is going to make it look really, really natural. And then the same on the other eye. Adding a little bit of light to the centre of the face actually gives the illusion of a glow, but without being glimmery or shimmery. So I actually love to run this concealer down the centre of my nose, a tiny bit up onto my forehead, not too much, and a little bit on my chin, and then again just blend that in with my beauty sponge. I just feel like it adds that luminosity without adding any glow or any shimmer. just opens up the face, giving it that gorgeous glowy look. So when it comes to glowy base, my favourite products are always going to be cream, because I think that gives them more natural look, but I do top them with some powder products, but I always start with my cream products. So I'm going to start with cream bronzer now, and I love the Tan de Chanel. Love this, absolutely gorgeous. But I also do love the SoSu contour sticks in the shade Warm. Amazing, both beautiful. I'm going to use the Tan de Chanel today just because I actually want a more natural look today, and I'm going to use this with a brush. This is the Blank Canvas F41 brush. Pop a little bit on to my brush, and I'm just going to place it in the areas that I want it with my brush. So I'm tapping it in. So I don't want this right under my cheekbone. I actually kind of want it slightly up onto my cheeks. Keeping it high enough. Bringing it into the temples. Don't worry if it looks a little bit harsh at this point. We are going to use our sponge to blend it in, and then I'm going to work it back into the hairline. Bring it under the chin slightly. I am using to contour the chin just to add a little bit, but majority of what I'm trying to do is get that bronze look. Like you can see the difference in the two sides of my face there. And just because I love the look of it, I'm going to actually bring a little bit across the center of my nose and slightly down onto either side, just slightly. I'm then going to take the sponge and I'm going to go back over that. The beauty of this is I have some of the product, some of my foundation still on this sponge, so then it's going to kind of mix slightly with the contour shade that I've put on, or the bronzer shade that I've put on, and just kind of like blur it down to make it look more natural. Similarly to bronzer, I love a good cream blush, and I have absolutely tons of them that I love, but I'm going to tell you my favourites. So my favourites are the Glossier Cloud Paints. I absolutely adore these. A lot of these none of them have shimmer on them, I don't think, but they still give that beautiful glow. I also love the SoSu one, which came in the Christmas kit last year. Love the Charlotte Tilbury Glowgasm Beauty Wand. These are amazing. I'll actually use these in a second after to show you, but for now I'm actually going to use the SoSu, but use absolutely any cream blush that you have. No panic at all, whatever you want. And I'm actually going to use my sponge directly to pop this on. So I'm taking a little bit of my sponge and I'm pressing that in to where I want it. So where do I want it? I don't want it down here on the cheeks because that just draws my face down. I want to keep it back, and it's almost working back into that bronzer shade and up slightly into the temples. And it gives a gorgeous glow. See, just radiance. Radiance without loads and loads of shimmer. I'm not a big fan of loads of shimmer on the face because I think it accentuates pores, whereas when you've gorgeous products like this, it definitely helps. So I'm going to bring a tiny bit on my nose, and I actually always put a little bit on my lips because I just like to have a little bit of colour on my lips. Use the other side of the sponge then just to press it down, blend it in. And you can see already that I have a gorgeous glow. I'm not going to do my cream highlight at this point, I do that after. So I am going to slightly set a little bit of my face now because I feel like it doesn't last me that well if I just put cream products on and don't set them. But I do want to set them with kind of powder products, so powder bronzers, powder brush. But before I do that, I want to put a light dusting of powder on. This is the Delilah Cosmetics powder. I'm just going to take a brush like this and a tiny bit of loose powder. Use whatever loose powder you have. And I'm just going to set the areas that I know I get shiny or my foundation and products move from. So it's always around my nose, smile line, kind of in between my brows. When I have got the pinpointed done, I actually just take a really large fluffy brush with a tiny amount of powder on it, and I just press it over my entire face. This just gives me the confidence that it's going to last really well all day, and just gives me a tiny little bit of a layer that kind of sets the cream products, that allows the powder products just to go on top much nicer. So sometimes when you put powder products on top of cream, they can kind of get a little bit muddy looking. This kind of removes that issue. For under my eye, I will take my beauty sponge and some of the powder, and I will press in under the eye because this is an area that is terrible for creasing for me. And I'm happy, everything's set. I know it's not going to move, and now I can go on to my powder products. So I'm going to use some glowy type bronzer powder to go back over the areas and add a little bit more definition to my skin. So there's a couple that I love. I love the Charlotte Tilbury one. So I love the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush bronzer, but this is actually quite matte, but it'd still be gorgeous if you want to use a matte one. I also love MAC Gimme Sun. This is a beautiful one because this does have a gorgeous shimmer to it. You can see it there, has a gorgeous shimmer to it. The one I'm actually going to use today is the Dripping Gold, which is SoSu's own brand, and this is the tan enhancing, what is this called? Self Tan Loose Mineral Bronzer. I'm going to use that, basically a loose powder, and I'm going to use my brush that I use all the time for this, which is the Nima Harley. Tiny bit on to my brush, make sure you tap it off, and just start working it in. Honestly, the bronzer won't matter, just use whatever one you want. I actually love this one because it actually really suits my skin tone, and also it does give me a fake tan look almost, which is what I like, especially when I don't have fake tan on. So I'm kind of just going back over the areas that I have used this on previously. I am putting a little bit under my bottom lip this time, just to give a little bit of a pout, and slightly down onto the neck. You can go as much as you want with this. You can make your skin as bronzy as you want. It's totally up to you. So next is blush. And what I actually love to do with blush is I like to use, well, it depends, but I love a matte blush, and then I like to top it with like a more shimmery topper. So for example, if I had MAC Peaches, which is one of my favorite blushes, nice peach color, I would top it then with, say, Milani Luminoso, like this, or MAC Margin, that kind of thing. There is also an amazing Irish brand called Luna by Lisa, and they do have this beautiful shimmering blush that was in a couple of their kits before. I think they actually sell it on its own now. It's absolutely amazing. I'll link it down below. So good. Today I'm going to use the MAC Peaches and the Luminoso, the Milani Luminoso, just because I know they're readily available. I'm just going to pop that on again where I had it previously, and then I'm going to top with my Milani Luminoso. Don't be afraid if it looks a little bit too much at the moment, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over with that big brush that I used to set my entire face, and I'm just going to go back over everywhere just to blend it all in. That just gives a beautiful, seamless finish to the look. So you can see the glow is starting to come, and what I want to do at this point is use a setting spray, but one that gives a glow. My absolute favourite by a mile is the Pixie Glow Mist. There is nothing that compares to it, by the way, but I haven't got that. I'll link it down below. I have it on the way, it's on order. But I also love the Dripping Gold Rest and Refresh, so I'm going to use that all over my face. Use a good bit, and then let it settle. It takes away any powderiness that has been on the face app, because I've applied a good few powders. Once you can feel it kind of starting to get less wet, if that's a thing, go back over it with your beauty sponge and press the products into the skin. Just gently tapping down. This gives a beautiful glow as well. If you are slightly oilier, I would suggest putting mattifying primer on at the very beginning before I even go in with anything like this. That definitely helps. I sometimes get oily around my nose, so I can often do that. Depends on what time of the month or what kind of way my skin is acting, but I would do that. Then you can go on to either a cream or a powder highlight. So I'm going to actually use a powder highlight today, but the ones I do love from a cream perspective is Hollywood Beauty Lights Wand. Love this one in the shade Spotlight. Dripping Gold have an amazing one. There's so many on the market. Let me see if there's any other ones. Let me think, is there any other ones that I love? There is loads. Like every brand has a liquid illuminator. To be honest, it doesn't really matter, but these two are great. My favourite highlight of all times is Precious Petal from Wet n Wild. As you can see, it's well loved. So I'm going to take that on a little brush, and I'm actually going to use that on the high points like this, because I have got slightly still damp skin. It actually adds a different level to the powder that you apply on top. So I'm just applying that on the high points of my face. I do love a tiny bit over my brows, just because that's what I like. And it's just because I actually think it gives that kind of luminous, it kind of balances the face almost. Always love a little bit on the tip of my nose. And that is all I would do for my glowy go-to base. I hope you enjoyed that. I'll leave all the products down below. I leave other recommendations that I absolutely love. So if you're interested in any of the products I mentioned, click the links down below. Thank you so much for watching. Before you leave, please like and subscribe. Share it with as many people as you can. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll chat to you all again soon. Take care.